Okay, so there's a whole set of numbers that you don't learn about until way later in life called imaginary numbers. So when we talk about imaginary numbers, we use lowercase I. So I is the start. I is the start of your imaginary numbers, and then they build in complexity. So a complex imaginary number would have like some numbers, so 2x, and we don't know what x is or whatever, plus something times I, plus or minus something times I. So this part of the complex imaginary number is representing something that we can't really define and kind of doesn't exist. So let's look at what that means. I is equal to whatever the value of square root of -1. And the reason for that is because what could multiply by itself to make -1? Nothing, because anything times itself would make positive, okay? -1 times -1 does not equal -1. So the answer is not -1. And 1 times 1 does not equal -1. So the square root of -1 is something that we can't comprehend. We don't have a way to represent that currently. So we use I. And then when we have I, we have to remember that some funky things happen when I is raised to a power. So when we have I squared, that is the equivalent of square root of -1 times square root of -1. So let me write that. Square root of -1 times square root of -1. Okay, so I squared is I, which is square root of -1 times itself. So square root of -1 times square root of -1, if we apply our logic, the square root of something times the square root of the same thing should equal whatever was inside. So I squared is -1. Whatever this mysterious number is that could multiply with itself to be -1. That's I squared. Next, we have I to the third. Okay, so that's going to be this, which we've established is -1, times another square root of -1 times square root of -1. Okay, and this can be simplified to negative square root of -1. So, excuse me, I'm just going to hold the paper down while I'm doing this all with one hand. Okay, so negative square root of -1. Okay, so I cubed is equivalent to this. Okay, and then let's look at what I4 is. Okay, I to the 4th power. So that would be 2 of these times each other, correct? 2 of these times each other. So what's -1 times -1? It's +1. Sorry, I had a brain fart there. It's the end of the day for me. So usually you'll see complex imaginary numbers that look something like this. I want to say that the variable is usually different. Something plus I. And I is just this thing we can't explain yet. And I is the square root of -1 because we can't represent that. So when you see I squared, you can replace that with -1. When you see I cubed, you can replace that with negative square root of -1. And then when you see I to the 4th, it equals 1. And then if you say I to the 5th, it loops back around again, okay? So I to the 5th would be square root of -1. I to the 6th, I'm just going to try to not hold the paper. I to the 6th power is -1. I to the 7th would be this, and it just keeps looping, okay? That's the crash course.